What's going on, guys? This is Dan Watson from learningcameras.com, and I've got the brand new Sigma 24-105 f4 OS, and it's a stabilized f4 lens. Now, depending on who your brand is, whether it's Canon or Nikon, you might have some different shooting options for you already. Canon has their 24-105 f4 image stabilized lens just like this, and for Nikon you've got two different choices. You've got a 24-85 3.5 to 4.5, and then you also have the more expensive 24-120, and that's an f4 constant stabilized lens as well. So depending on who you're shooting with, you're going to have a couple different options to compete with the Sigma lens. But we're going to take a look at this lens, some of your other options, the build quality, image quality, and once again, you can download these images. We'll have the full resolution images posted at our website, learningcameras.com. So take a look at those, download them from yourself. If you don't believe me on the image quality, then be the judge yourself. Now, the first thing I'd like to get into on this is the hardware. This is a very substantial lens. It's definitely bigger than most of the other 24-105 zooms. It's about half a pound heavier than Canon's 24-105. So you're not going to mistake this for a small lens at all. However, it feels great on a Canon 5D Mark III or a big body like that. It actually helps stabilize the body just a little bit. It is a very nice feeling lens. Definitely feels in the pro market. I mean, I've held $1,500, $2,000 lenses that don't feel as good in the hand as this Sigma does. So very good metallic feel to it. Even the lens hood just has a resounding click to it. Definitely feels like your upper class lens. You will not be mistaking this for some cheap plastic. Now, when we get into the dials, you're going to see that it's overwhelmingly has this big zoom rotary dial right here, and it's much bigger than what we see on a lot of cameras. It's also positioned to the front. I don't mind that because this is a small lens, so I kind of hold my hand right in there as well, unlike some of the bigger zooms where you might hold your hand a little bit farther back. However, it's a nice smooth motion as well. However, if you're used to doing manual focus, if you're pulling focus for video, the manual focus ring is a little bit harder to get to. It's back, it has a nice smooth rotation to it as well. It's just a little harder to get to, and you're gonna have to think about it a little bit more when finding it. Once you do, I mean, it's nice and grippy, so you're gonna get a nice smooth manual focus on that. It's just a little bit smaller. Overwhelmingly, your buttons and controls feel amazing. This is definitely your high quality lens, much more than you would get from other lenses in this $900 segment. Now, when it comes to image quality, the Sigma 24-105 is nothing to laugh at. I mean, it might be an f4 lens and only an f4 lens, but this is a lens you can keep open at f4 all day long and be perfectly fine with it. Images are astoundingly sharp at f4. You can at 24, 50, at 105. They're a little bit less at 105. It's definitely better on the wider side. However, you're getting stunning image quality even at f4. To really see the difference between f4 and f5, you really got to search for the corners of a lens. This is where you're going to see the biggest difference as you bump up from f4 to f5.6, for example. You will see a little bit of sharpening in those corners, but overwhelmingly, the Sigma 24-105 is amazingly sharp inside the center. Now, I did try to introduce a little bit of flare into this lens, and it's really difficult. It controls flare extremely well, and the little bit you get is very pleasing to the eye. It's not like a total washout or loss of contrast, so it's a very nice little bit of flare that you're able to get in there if you shoot directly into the sun. So overwhelmingly, it handles it extremely well. Now, you will see a little bit of vignetting into the corners at f4. It's pretty gradual, so it's not really bad. Now, you can pull this out in software very easily as soon as software like Lightroom enables the ability to do that with this lens, enables the profiles for the Sigma. You will be able to get rid of that really easily. However, it's nothing major on that. You know, bumping up into f5.6 kind of shoves it a little bit more into the corners, and by f8 it's completely gone. So, you know, it's there. It's about 2 to 3 stops inside the corners, but it's pretty gradual on the fall off, and I don't mind it at all. Now, 24 millimeters, you will see some distortion. This is probably the biggest weakness I would see of this lens. You're able to see that distortion at 24 millimeters. If you shoot anything longer than that, it will go away, but on the full frame, it is gonna be there. You know, a lot of software will pull this out. Lightroom, once it's updated with the profiles, will be able to fix this. Photoshop can fix this, so it's not the biggest deal, but if you're a landscape shooter, if you're shooting architectural, you might notice that just a little bit more. Now when it comes to focus speed, this does have Sigma's high-speed motor in it. I won't say it's the fastest lens I've ever used when it comes to focus speed, but it's certainly enough to keep up with just about anything you can throw at it. You know, in an f4 lens shooting at only 105 millimeters, even on a full frame camera, you've got a little bit of depth of field in there in almost every scenario with a moving object. And so you're really not gonna see any issues when it comes to it. I mean, focus speeds for me, very, very quick. Even if I focus to infinity and then try to focus up close, you're talking a little delay, but you're talking less than half a second, maybe a quarter second. So nothing that you're gonna really notice in use. Very, very quick and definitely able to keep up with high-speed shooting. Now, one of the biggest benefits of this lens is gonna be the built-in image stabilizer, and I must say it works pretty well. I'm able to see about 2 to 3 stops, mostly around the 3-stop side of things improvement, even with my coffee-infused hands, and it definitely works a lot better, stabling motion, stabling video. I'm able to shoot much better handheld with this than I'm able to on a lot of cameras. It's probably not quite as good as some of the new Canon IS systems that I've seen, but it's definitely good enough to make things a little bit better. This is going to be one of the biggest arguments for this lens over maybe an f2.8 lens from Canon or Nikon, where you're not going to get that image stabilization. If you're inside and need that image stabilization or shooting video, it might be worth it to you to lose a stop of light there and gain it back on the shutter speed. However, if it's a shutter speed you need improved, you're not going to get it on this, and that's why I tend to shoot with the Tamron 24-70 f2.8, because it's got stabilized built in along with the 2.8 aperture. I wouldn't say it's quite as good as this when it comes to sharpness and the stabilization, but it does have that extra little stop of aperture that's there when you need it. Now, there's no doubt in my mind that the Sigma 24-105 is a great lens. It just has stunning build quality, image quality, just about everything about it screams that it's a high quality, high class lens, definitely worthy of the $900 and probably worthy of up to, you know, $1,200–1,500. If this was a Canon or Nikon lens, you would see people flying off the shelves to go get this lens. However, it is a Sigma lens, so you got to look at some of the other options in there once you're moving to third party. And one of the things to look at is you can pick up a Canon 24-105 millimeter f4 lens very inexpensively, mostly because it's a kit lens with so many cameras that you can get it used or white box for so much cheaper, even cheaper than the $899 on this. So if you're a Canon shooter, that's going to be a tough option for you. If you're going new and you want something brand new in the box with a full warranty on it, you can't go wrong with the Sigma. It's going to give you that for $900. However, if you're willing to take a little bit of a sacrifice, get a white box, or if you're willing to get a used lens, you're going to be able to get, maybe even refurbished, you're going to be able to get that Canon lens even a little bit cheaper than this, and that might be a good option to save some money on this. On the upper end, you're also going to have the Tamron lens to deal with. Tamron offers a full stop more of light, and you still get the not quite as much range on it at 24-70, but you will still get the image stabilization. That's going to be a compelling option too at about $1,100–1,200. For Nikon shooters, you do have that Tamron option as well. Also, you have the much cheaper 24-85 millimeter lens. It's not a constant aperture. It's not the sharpest lens in the book. I probably would lean away from that. You also do have the big guy, the Nikon 24-120 to deal with. You're going to get a little bit more range on that one. However, your price is going to be significantly more expensive. It might not be as compelling option to go with that versus the Sigma. So for Nikon shooters, I see a lot of reason to move to this Sigma lens. For Canon shooters, if you're going new, I would definitely go with the Sigma lens. If you're willing to sacrifice and get maybe a used or white box, you might just stick with that Canon 24-105. Not because there's anything wrong with this Sigma, but just when you're moving the third-party lenses, sometimes there can be some compatibility issues, and you never really know what your resale value is going to be later on. However, these new lenses by Sigma have been amazing. I'm very happy with all of my art lenses. Basically, anything new from Sigma has been amazing for me, and I would highly recommend this lens to compete with even the best Canons and Nikon on the market.